Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. It is Tuesday at about 9 o'clock. We had a pretty big little gathering of snow. Yesterday we had our first snow day. I had my first snow day from work of the year. It was a little bit. I don't know. I felt like that was maybe a little bit unnecessary. It always seems like people, even here in New England or Maine, people freak out every winter when there's a storm, and so we got maybe 3 to 5 inches total, 5 to 6, I should say. By this morning, I would say we got about 6. But the roads are fine. I ended up when I found out that work was canceled, closed because of the snow. I was like, well, let's see how bad it is out, and I went out, did some stuff, and didn't even have to shovel out of the driveway. I have to do a little bit of shoveling, but I was able to get right out of my driveway and went into town and got out of the house for a while and ran some errands and stuff. But the roads are fine, and but yeah, everything was canceled as far as school wise, and I work in the school district, so we always get the notification first thing. But anyway, it was a nice day. I had a bunch of time on my hands, so just kind of got some practicing in, watched some movies, and so it was good. So next week we will be playing our next that's going to be our next Quantum gig. It's going to be next weekend, a week from this coming Friday. We will be playing with this really killer band Over that is a local band here in Midcoast, Maine. It's all original rock. My good friends play in that band. Sam Wydick, who's a fabulous drummer, and friend Ronnie, who I play in a band with. Bone Broth, amazing guitar player, and then Aaron Davis, who is the bass player in that band. And I've seen them play a few times, probably about 3 or 4 times now. I went to their first gig, which was this summer, and then I've seen them play a couple other times since then. And they're pretty awesome, pretty amazing actually. They are a power trio, and it's all original music, which is super awesome. And it's all, I don't know, it's a hard their music's hard to describe. I mean, it's definitely rock, and it definitely has like a metal thing to it, but it's pretty eclectic, pretty eccentric. There there is a certain kind of wackiness to their music, very kind of whimsical or cynical, kind of good party music too in its own way. Ronnie, who is the guitar player in the band, and I think I think he writes most of the music in the band. I know Aaron writes too. Writes also. He's written a few songs also, but I do believe that Ronnie is the principal songwriter, and he played guitar in a pretty famous band for a long time, Frog Brigade, with Les Claypool from Primus. For a long time, recorded some albums and toured with them and did all these wild and crazy things. So the music that he writes, his original music, has a little bit of that primacy Frog Brigade kind of vibe to it. So, but it's definitely, they have this real metal sound. Like, it's heavy music. It's really loud. It's totally rocking, and it's like in your face. But it's pretty strange and weird at times, and it's got also like this prog rock kind of vibe, like a King Crimson kind of a thing. Very cool, very very cool stuff. And I've seen them play. So we're going to be doing a show with them as Quantum, and we're going to be opening for them at the Hilltop Tavern in Thomaston, Maine. So we're going to be playing like an hour set. We'll be kicking things off. So that's going to be a week from this Friday. So come on down. It should be a really fun time, and feel real honored to be asked to play and open up for these guys. It'll be a good show, and I think it's kind of a cool, even though what both of our bands do is pretty different, obviously, from each other. But I think there is a weird kind of commonality between both styles. Well, one thing is it's a night. The coolest thing of the whole night is that it's all going to be all original music the whole night. So that is a big bonus. So come on down. There's been a lot of promotion for it already for this week, and there'll be some more, much more promotion coming up in leading up to the show, which will be next week. So stay tuned. So very excited. So today's show is on a movie that I've been actually been wanting to talk about and cover for quite a while. And again, it's just it's just the case that I have so many things that I want to talk about, and then I've been doing these specialty shows. I did a show on the news of Best Buy, the big corporate media franchise Best Buy, that where they had announced that they are basically discontinuing selling any physical media in their shops or in the stores, and then also online, which is a really huge kind of development, and definitely a sign of the times. And so I did a show on that and kind of what that could mean or what it does mean, the ramifications of it, the fallout if any. So I did a show on that, and I've done shows on a few other things lately. And then I also have been doing shows where most of the shows I've been doing lately, just because it's been a little bit more convenient. I've been still recording shows pretty much every day, but I've been setting them up as premieres on the channel. So there's a shit ton of videos that are kind of coming down the pike that are coming at you at later dates. And I don't know. I like that you can do that with YouTube. I like that you can, if you feel like you might be oversaturating a little bit, you can still do all the work, but take a break and spread things out. So I've been doing that lately. The last show I did yesterday was on a movie that I just saw in the theater, and that is Godzilla Minus One. That movie just completely kicks ass in every conceivable way. It was such an awesome experience going to the theater. So I did a big show on me going with some friends to see Godzilla Minus One. It was just incredible. So I'm thinking about going to see it again. It was an hour drive, and the drive there was a little bit iffy. It was the beginning of the snowstorm that we eventually got, or snowfall. So, but it was so worth it, and I'm considering maybe going again because it was truly a remarkable experience. Seeing it in the theater, the sound was just like unbelievable. So I'm thinking about seeing it again. But incredible movie. I think it's hard to say, but I think at face value, I think it's probably the best Godzilla movie. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I am a huge fan of the classic Toho Japanese Godzilla films. I do not like at all the American versions. And of course, this latest version is a Toho production, and it's just incredible. And I kind of feel like, at face value, it's probably, for my money, the best Godzilla movie. And I kind of feel it's also the best movie I have seen this year. It's more, I mean, it's definitely a monster movie, but it has way more than that, as just being a masterfully done, a masterfully directed film. And I think, if a Godzilla movie ever in a million years was to be nominated for Best Picture or Best Foreign Film, this is it. So check out the review I did the video yesterday and uploaded it in the afternoon. So very, very cool. Or, well, way beyond cool, I should say. So one of my favorite directors of all time, and I've talked about him before. I've done, I think, only maybe one or two videos on some of his movies, and that is Roman Polanski. Huge fan of Roman Polanski. Of course, Rosemary's Baby, Chinatown. I did a show on Chinatown. I think that might be the only film I've covered of his career so far. I need to eventually do all of his movies. The Fearless Vampire Killers, just incredible. I did do, actually, now that I think of it, I did do a show on one of his later films, Death in the Main, with Sigourney Weaver and Ben Kingsley. Just an incredible movie. It's so powerful. Um, just so many great films to his credit, and he's always been one of my favorites. The Pianist with Adrian Brody, which is also one of his later films. And there is one other film, now that I think of it, that I did do a coverage, that I did do a show on. Yes, Repulsion with Catherine Deneuve. Just amazing, amazing, amazing film. Today's show is going to be on the most. It's hard to say, but it might be his best film. But it's definitely. It actually, in all actuality, it was one of the first films I had seen of his work, and it is his debut, and that is Knife in the Water. I have this really amazing Criterion collection of this film. It's on DVD. It's not Blu-ray, but still the quality is amazing. The it's such a wonderful, incredible movie. This edition is gorgeous. This is it's a Criterion collection. I do need to get an upgrade on this because there isn't really much in lieu of as far as like special features. There's like commentary on there's a commentary track, but that's about it. But the transfer of this movie is just incredible. And this movie is such a great suspense tale. It's basically around, and this movie came out, and this is Polanski's debut. This movie came out in '62, and it's amazing. It's all, of course, Polanski is from Poland originally, so the whole film was shot in Poland, all with Polish actors and actresses. It's all in Polish and it's English subtitles. One of the greatest tales of suspense. It's basically a story of this couple that's on a boat, and then they end up becoming coming in and encounter this stranger, and they end up taking him, who is basically by himself and seems to be kind of stranded, and they befriend him, and they end up taking him on this trip, and they go on this boat trip with this person, and a series of events happen of where all of these confrontations happen, and where eventually this person goes on to try to kill these people, and it's such an awesome movie, and it's one of those movies that is it's so contained. It basically takes place on this boat, and it's one of those classic movies of where I'm a big fan of movies of where you can have where the writing is so great, and it really is, up to the power of the director, but then the ability of the actors, and if the script is written so well, and you have this movie where it's so self-contained, and it will, like, say, just take place in one room or one place, and yet there's so much intensity to what's going on, and you're getting so much cool information that you don't need there to be numerous locations or numerous actors. And this is like a prime time example of that. I think it's probably the best example of that, like a film of where it essentially just takes place in one location and you only have three actors. Extraordinary. And the amount of suspense in this film is just, through the roof. It's just as good, or just it's at such a high level that it's right on par with like a classic Hitchcock film. Other movies that I think take that kind of aesthetic and have done that so well is I would say like Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. Again, a movie that is so self-contained and you're limited to very few actors, but the the dialogue, the writing, the acting, the amount of suspense is so thrilling and so incredible and so incredible that everything else you don't need to have these other things where you have exterior shots or numerous locations or a huge ensemble cast. Just fabulous, and I think that Knife in the Water is like the best example of of where you just have this completely self-contained environment, and yet you're still getting these fireworks. Yeah, just amazing. And I've always said too, I'm a huge fan of black and white cinema, and the transfer of this for the Criterion is just sweeping in every way possible. It's just so utterly gorgeous. And again, it's all Polish actors in this film too. You have Jolanta Umecki, Zygmunt Malowince, Helena Pruga-Keeling, and Leon Nuskrik. Pardon my pronunciations here. But this movie's come up a lot in conversation when I've talked to people. A lot of people know of Polanski. Probably, well, his most, probably world-renowned film or his most popular film is Rosemary's Baby, and rightfully so. I mean, that movie is a masterpiece. I'm also a huge fan of Chinatown. I love that movie to death. But I'd say that, commercially, Rosemary's Baby was like his like biggest kind of box office smash. That movie, when it came out, was a phenomenon, and that movie really catapulted his career to stardom. And a lot of times, like in passing or here and there, getting a conversation with a friend, or we'll start talking about movies, or somehow we'll start talking about Roman Polanski, and I usually always bring up Knife in the Water. I always ask him, "Well, have you seen Knife in the Water?" I usually always bring that up, and then also Chinatown. And most people, Chinatown is another movie that is amongst his films is definitely one of the most popular, and again, one of my favorites. It's a close tie, I think, between Knife in the Water and Chinatown as far as my favorites. But that movie is very well known, very well respected, and rightfully so. I feel like Knife in the Water is pretty underrated. Another movie of his that obviously it came out a couple of years after this, Repulsion with Catherine Deneuve. And again, another masterpiece of a movie. But that movie definitely has a little bit more traction as far as acclaim and notoriety, and people still talk about that movie. Knife in the Water, I don't really hear about it that much. So a lot of the times, if whenever it comes up in conversation with people, I'll that will be usually the movie I'll bring up or refer to people, especially if they haven't seen it, or if they really are big fans of suspense films, or thrillers, or they if they do like Polanski's work a lot. And most of the time when that's happened, I've found that people haven't seen it, or they might have heard about it, or don't know anything about it. So I can't recommend it enough. It does. I do deserve to get this. I do. I definitely need to get an upgrade on this on Blu-ray at some point. The Criterion collections are pretty amazing. They're very expensive, though. They have not, even with all of the chaos in the world with streaming and digital media and all of this stuff, prices, changing quite a bit. And obviously a lot of movies have come down in price because of where we are at. And there are a lot more cases of kind of limited runs of films that are being sold, and it's harder to get. Like I recently just watched a show on online, a YouTube channel which I've been digging, and I just recently discovered a movie channel, and this guy was talking about movies that he had ordered. Trying to think what company it was. I can't remember. He does a lot of Vinegar Syndrome, but this movie was not. I don't believe it was Vinegar Syndrome. It might have been, but he was talking about a bunch of movies that he had ordered, and they were mostly, these pretty obscure uh, exploitation horror movies. And he had named a few of them, and I had them in my collection. And he had gotten them in line online. And when I bought those same movies, I bought them in person in at Bull Moose in my travels. He was also saying how they were all of those movies. There was about three or four that he mentioned, and that I own on Blu-ray. And he said that now that they're all discontinued, they don't make them anymore, and they're sold out. And I was just like, holy shit! Like that's crazy. It's crazy. And so things are changing rapidly, but I'm sure with Polanski being such a highly regarded director, this would be pretty easy to find. But I find with the Criterion Collection series, which is, amazing and immaculate, they're super expensive. Like they're ultra expensive, and I haven't noticed. If anything, I've noticed in my travels that the prices for a lot of their films has actually gone up. So they were already very expensive. I mean, some movies you're looking at a starting price of $25, and that could be cheap for a Criterion. Granted, you get all kinds of other things. You get tons of special features. The transfer is amazing. You get all of the stuff, and especially when it comes to DVD versions. I have pretty decent amount of the Criterion Collection. They're mostly DVDs because it was right around the cusp of the time when I was just avidly buying just DVDs. I have a few Blu-rays, but they are very expensive, so I don't buy them that often. They are worth it, but it's mainly any reservations I have are due to the cost. But amazing masterpiece, Knife in the Water. Please see it if you've never seen it before. It's truly a classic, one of the greatest thrillers ever made. So thanks again. This is Jason Dean, and we will see you next time. Peace.